So I think let's start the discussion without wasting any time. So first of all, welcome to AMC podcast. Here in this AMC podcast, we deal about a wide variety of issues in different in all weeks, and we discuss about different issues where the insights will be provided by a group of experts and panelists. So for today, we are discussing on the topic the power shift of football from Europe. So for the discussion on this topic, we have three panelists present along with me today, and I request everyone to introduce themselves. So Safal, you can start.
Hi, I'm Safal Tom. So I would like to be known as a Liverpool fan in this kind of a discussion. So I think the introduction is brief and there, subtle there. Yeah. So I'm part of AMC, been one of the founding members of AMC and a good football fan.
Okay, next. Thank you, Safal.
I'm Michelle Robson. It's good to know there's another Liverpool fan in the midst. I'm a freelancer in sports events. So I've been an athlete since childhood as well. So yeah, that's a small brief about me.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Second,
Yeah, yeah. Hi,
next, any
yeah.
little, yeah.
Hi everyone. So I think it's first time I'm meeting all of you. So I'm like you guys told you are a Liverpool supporter. I'm an Arsenal supporter. So have been for the past 10, 15 years. So I follow all the games very closely, and yeah, uh, hope we can have a very good discussion here.
Okay, thank you, Ali. So myself, Ajes Mathew, and I'm also a Liverpool supporter too.
Too
And
much
I'm also part of
majority for the
AMC
first
from the
time.
time of its founding. Yeah, it's 3:1.
Not a usual
So
scenario.
yeah, it's a very unusual scenario.
Very unusual and odd series.
Also, so we have an esteemed panel today who can provide really good insights into this issue. So once again, our panel consists of Ali Jibin, who is an IIM Calicut graduate and a football genius. Safal Tom, who is an investment banker and a football user. Michelle Robson is a footballer enthusiast and was the first official women's football team captain of St. Stephen's College, Delhi University. So I think without any more such introduction, we will come to our topic. So it is the shifting trends in world football. As we always know, Europe is, was, and always will be the powerhouse of world football. From the very evolution of football, even though the trophies and the championships were even go to Latin American countries, Europe remained as the powerhouse of football, both financially and when it comes to the club football. So in this era, especially after various developments like the giving of the bid to conduct the World Cup to Qatar in 2000 after 2010, and the emergence of Middle East as an economic powerhouse. After all these issues, we are seeing a shift of football powerhouse towards the Middle Eastern countries. Uh, when we look into some couple of the latest developments, like Qatar's successful conducting of World Cup, Qatar's historic World Cup in 2022. Cristiano Ronaldo's move to Al Nassr, Neymar's move to Al Hilal, and also the taking over of Newcastle by a Saudi Arabia's public investment company. So when we look at all these developments, we can see a serious shift of economic powerhouse in world football. So in this podcast, we are discussing on this topic how this shifting trend in world football will impact the future football, or at least is there a serious shift in world football? It's just like something like that happened in China You all know that the Paulino, Hulk, and Oscar all went to China for World Record transfer fees in 2015 and 16, 15 and 16. But this all ended after a couple of years. So our discussion will be start in this point of view. Is there a serious shift of in world football to Middle East, or it's just a temporary phenomena which will end within a couple of years? So I think Safal can start.
I think the shift from Europe to Asia is not something that is pretty. I mean, we can not visualize right now this movement after one or two transfer windows, because to take past example, like you said, China. Even before that, in the late 80s, if you could see, there was in the USA before the MLS, there was this trend where all these players like Pele went to New York, Cosmo, Beckenbauer, and all these great players went. Even the shift to Middle East, you have seen players leaving at the end of their careers to the Middle East, but you have never seen in such large numbers to any other sector, any other club moving, people moving. So, what is the major concern for European football right now would be how the smaller clubs would adapt to this, because money is thrown out left, right, and center by the Saudi with the project of 2034. So, if you compare this to Qatar 2022, so Qatar had a project and they went and bought PSG, they got all the best players. If you just look at the trajectory right after the 2022 World Cup ended in Qatar, the interest is slowly going down. Messi left, now Neymar is gone out. So is it a similar trend? Because these, even if you take China, if you take Saudi, these are not a cultural build from the grassroots level kind of a project. These are something that is coming from the top of the hierarchy. See, last year the Saudi Public Investment Fund took over four of the largest clubs in Saudi Arabia, decided to put some money into the market. They came and bought Newcastle United and put some money into the football business. So they see it as a diversification. If you look at a lot of other investments, real estate, anything, SoftBank, Saudis have a major role into it. So they want to diversify their money. So this is again a business interest. This is not something which we see as a grassroots level evolution where a new culture is being formed. Yes, football is a loud sport in Saudi, but how much, like, see, you should associate football clubs in Europe is associated with the place, associated with the people, the community. It's a part of the community. So unless and until the club is rooted to the community, you will not see long-term success to it. So then the question is how Europe is able to dominate over the Latin American clubs, where the money has clearly come into play. Not just money, the commercialization. If you look at the early 70s and all, there were less movement of players from South America to Europe. Like you said, the likes of Pele never played in Europe. They are only playing in South America. There's a lot of this cross-country, cross-continent friendlies happening. So there was less action and there was less. See, only after the television or the screen of this large kind of broadcasting revenue come into European football. Even if you take Premier League was not the biggest league in Europe. Yes, Serie A for before right before Premier League. All the good players from Premier League used to go down to Serie A. So there was a time when Bundesliga used to have the best players coming there, where Hamburg and Bayern used to dominate. Then Real Madrid and Barcelona as institutions, they always used to attract good players. So Premier League, when it was formed in the 1990s, all the broadcasting revenue, they are now dominating European football based on the money. Yes, the money factor always plays, but I think it's a combination of money and a grassroots culture that's allowed Premier League to sustain it. But I don't think Saudi currently have it. We have to see what happens post 2034 to see how long we can see the Saudi revolution go.
Okay, Savuto, your views are well and clear. So now let's go to Michelle. Your views on this?
Yeah, I mean, adding on to what Safal was mentioning, the major difference with Europe and Middle East is the football culture that Europe and Latin American people have. right? That's the major difference. So even though there is a shift that you see, it has been, we have observed it for the past 1.5 decades. Like the Middle Eastern people have been trying to get into the entire sports industry in general and football in specific. Like they started buying clubs. They have a lot of money. They wanted to spend money and wanted to like have that sort of a name in sports as well. So that's how they actually started getting into the industry and like investing and spending money into football especially. So that gradual shift that we are seeing right now is basically trying to put their country, their place in the world sports map, right? So it is possible, like Safal mentioned, it is possible that this heat of shift can die down, right? After some time, once Messi or Ronaldo or Neymar retires, like if no other athletes are in any of these major clubs, they can actually like just it can go down. So the main factor over here definitely is the culture, right? But if they are able to sustain it, like they continue to do so by getting more players into the teams, into their specific leagues, and like we mentioned, like in the Champions League is considering to invite uh, clubs from Middle East as well, right? So those kind of things, when it happens, definitely what happens is it's even going to like positively affect the European market as well. If you think about it, it's not only how the like we are shifting from Europe, it will positively affect the European market as well, because matches will happen in Europe and in other places, right? So there's home and away matches that happen. So there the tourism increases even more people come in, more ticketing happens, right? Even merchandise sales. So it is the entire shift, whether it sustains or not is a different thing, but the way they work around it, how smart they play, that definitely plays a major role in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Michelle. So let's move to Ali.
Yeah. Hi. It was good hearing from both of you, and I mostly agree with what both of you were telling. So it's not something which you can answer right now. Whether the power shift to Middle Eastern football will it be successful? That's not something which you will have an answer for, at least for next 5 or 10 years maybe. Something which you will get to know over the course of time. And from what I think of, I like you all mentioned, we have had instances of this in the past. We have had most recently Chinese Super League, no, which was a major player. So what I think of is, I usually think of the similarities and the differences between what has happened then and what is happening right now. So if you think of something like a Chinese Super League, one of the main differences was that they did not have the backing of their government. So Chinese government never backed their Chinese Super League. Actually, in actual, if you take it, they actually, you can say that they were sort of against it, because the taxation on the Chinese Super League transfers were hugely uh, were very high basically, and most of these clubs had to go out of uh, basically go out of contention, because they had to pay those huge taxes which were to be paid to the government. But when you think when you compare that with the Saudi Super League, let's say, you can see that it's being funded by the government. So the in that case, if you see that, the chance of success for a Saudi Super League would be much higher. But then again, then you think of other factors. The one of the things which I closely monitor is basically what's the demographic of the players who are going to basically, the Saudi Super League. So if you see, firstly, when I saw, let's say, somebody like a Ronaldo or somebody like Koulibaly or someone, those kind of players are who at the at the end of their careers, basically, who you, of course, you can tell that they are going for their final paycheck. But then again, after some time, we saw different type of transfers happening. You saw someone like a Milinkovic Savic, or someone who is at the prime of their careers. So when people like those people go, then then you think that it's going to be a long term project for them. Then again, the third type of players which I found very interesting was someone like a Gabri Vega. If you know, he's just 21 years of age, and he has just got his Spain debut and everything. And after that, someone like that goes, who has been hailed as could be a starter for Spain for the next 10 years. But so when I see at the demographic of the players who are going, you see that there is a chance that they are taking it much seriously and much more differently than how the Chinese Super League did the same. Then the most important thing, like you all told, is that it's the culture of the football, and you are telling your Liverpool supporters, I'm sure that you'll have some sort of belongingness to Liverpool, even though you are all this far away. I have the same thing towards Arsenal. I don't think that's something which any of the fans have towards globally, or even maybe in Saudi. Even I think very few, because I have seen matches in Saudi Super League apart from the maybe top matches where the top players play in. You can't make a league out of 4 teams. That's what's happening there right now. You need a league. It needs to be competitive. It needs to have 18, 20 teams, whatever it is. So that's not happening right now. And in order for them to do that, it's going to be basically take a lot of time. So that's why I told you that it's going to take more than, let's say, 10-15 years for us to answer that question. Yeah.
So what Ali said, I partially agreed to that. But certain things, Ali, what you were about telling about a lot of stuff like this comparison with Chinese Super League. The problem with Chinese Super League, what I believe, it was a government-driven project just to appeal the Chinese government. The government had wanted a vision 2030 or 2050, I don't remember. And they want China to win the World Cup. So similarly, this is also another government-driven project. So it's a person's interest. It's a single person's interest, not a large country's interest or a community's interest. But the similarity again, both countries' primary sport. If we again do it, is this thing only, football only. Both countries have a large viewership in football internally. If you see, there was this incident where Being Sports and other Middle East broadcasters had issues with Premier League with illegal streaming happening of Premier League. So it's all interconnected. But when you're telling about a league cannot be made with 4 teams, but I think it's not just 4 teams. We look down the ladder. Al Ittihad, Delphi Fati is there, where you have the likes of Gerald and people there. Then Al Shadab is there, who has Carrasco. These players were already there. There are a lot of Benega was already there in Saudi Arabia. So down the ladder, there is progress. It might not be high profile assets. So if you take in the case of uh, the league like Bundesliga, other than the first 2, 3 teams, no one can attract any big talent. But Saudi Arabia, if you take 7 or 8 clubs, can attract big talents to their country. How many clubs in Bundesliga or La Liga even would be able to take a middle tier Premier League player out to join them with higher wages? In La Liga, if you take, say, 3 teams, Bundesliga, you will say 1 team. Serie A, in the current financial state, I don't know any of the team able to attract any players in it. So if you look European club football structure overall, other than investment, none of these clubs are self-sustainable. So all these clubs are in a financial situation where they require outside funding. So the timing of this league, I cannot say it is the best timing possible. You take all the major clubs apart from even the La Liga club, Barcelona is a financial disarray. So all of them need money to be funded. So I believe this is the right timing, and if this is a sustainable thing, then we would require more discussion on the same, because this is a long-term project. So this will not be a first thing, not be the last thing. This January window open, you will see more players coming in. So because if you say this, you are talking about these players' demography, then these players can come into European players going is not a new thing. Like Yannick Carrasco went to China, he came back to Athletic. 4 years, I'm going abroad to work in a country earning good salaries. That is a mindset of a player. So you cannot ask a player to stay in a country for less than half what he will be earning in Saudi Arabia, added on a 50% tax slab to it. So for a player's perspective, so the players can obviously will take the decision to move to Saudi Arabia or any other country ready to offer a good quality football. So there was a statement from Mitrovic saying that I'm joining Al Ahly, which is like a Real Madrid of Saudi Arabia. That's a pretty good thing because he is playing for Fulham, who's not competing for any trophy in Premier League. He's going to a club that is competing for the top of the league. That kind of shift, I think, is gonna see a lot more.
So when I tell a league can't be made of four teams, so you told me basically about how many teams can attract. I'm not talking about attracting talent that they would be able to do. Of course, if they have the money, they will be able to do. What I'm talking about is the viewership which they have. So if you have checked out those Saudi Super League matches, in some of the matches at least, which I had just seen photos of, so I know for a fact that the viewership, the number of people who have actually gone to the stadium to the match is less than 1,000. So with those number of fans going to watch a match, it would never be successful. Then what you have to think of is is there a market, or is there a viewership available there in that country? So they would, of course, if you go globally, there is a chance that with superstar names, of course, you will get global viewership. But all these clubs which we support, or which we talk about, all of these clubs, even when you talk about a Bundesliga club or a Serie A club, all these clubs right now, like you told, they can't afford any major talents. They would not be able to pay more than 20-30 million for a good player. So but the difference is that they of course have their viewership. So even if you see the like you told, Hamburg, which is in the second division, but 40,000, 50,000 people come to watch their match every week in the second division. So that viewership is what I'm more worried about than attracting of the talent. And that I don't think is something that can be fixed with attract getting more let's say more talented players from Europe. That is something which needs to happen within the country, and for that you need to know whether that country has a potential for the same.
That's a very fair
Okay,
point,
I
Ali. But just to add to, I mean, like just a counter point to it, even though the like what you're talking about, the viewership part, but we should even consider that it's in the Middle East, right? And for them, why they're doing this particular shift or the project that they are on is not to basically bring that sort of their vision is not bring football, like bring that sort of a football culture in their country. I feel their vision basically is to bring their country into the world map. So for what they are aiming at, I don't think this viewership part, like people actually coming and watching the matches in the stadium, is a major problem for them. For them, it's basically that the TV, like people in the world should see it. It should go out in the world, like it should be broadcasted around. Everyone should see it. They should get those TV rights and all of that and make money in that way. So, and be known that they are doing well in football as well. I feel that's a sort of mindset that the Middle Eastern where people are striving towards. Yeah, that's what I feel.
So I agree with that. I agree with what both of you are telling. If you are going to go for the look at the political aspects of it, you can basically very simply call it money laundering. So it's whitewashing. So basically, very simply you can call that. Um, but they do it in all sports, because I have been part of. So I have actually worked on a Saudi government project which was there, which was basically on their wrestling federation. They wanted a 15-year timeline on how to basically be in the 2036 or something Olympics. They wanted to be a part of it. So that was their basic. So in that case, if you see, if that's something, if that is the aim, they would be able to achieve it. But the problem again is that the sustained success of their league, I think, would not be possible if they if it's going to be on this path. That's all.
So here, am I audible?
Yes, Ajes.
Yeah. So one question I like to raise here is, we know that the financial fair play regulations are it's one of the biggest joke in European football. So and the clubs like Saudi and Qatar is out of this financial fair play of European Football Association. So what if the Saudi and other countries continue to buy big clubs and invest so big in European football, and mm, they are transferring the players to Saudi with such higher wages and higher transfer fee. So the main question is how the teams that are based on fans and the revenue from fans will sustain this competition with other nations. So here the clubs are not competing with their financial power. It's Saudi Arabia was, let's say, Liverpool. It's Saudi Arabia versus some small clubs in Germany or other countries. So in such a scenario, the end will be they will write down or they will worsen the financial situation of the small clubs. Only a number of large clubs will be remaining in every European nations, like let's say maybe Manchester City or Newcastle in England or Barcelona or Real Madrid in Spain. So in such a situation, there is a larger scope that some arrangements like Super Cup will, which was once proposed, will once again raise this entire club football system and it will change the dynamics of club football. So yeah, I am again, I think everyone agrees with that this issue, the power shift to UAE and Saudi Arabia is just a short-term issue. It will end after 10 years, or we need at least 10 years to comment on these issues. Yes. But my question is, what will be the impact caused by this economical powers in the smaller clubs in England, Spain, or Germany, or any other leagues? So, what will be its impact on smaller teams? How will they find the revenue, and how will they compete with how will they compete with such a bigger clubs and bigger transfers without enough financial fair play regulations?
Adding on to what Ajay said, FFP has been a big factor. Again, FFP has always been about investment. Where this investment comes from? This comes from the wealthy people who are interested in the sport. Here now you have seen a wealthy country now getting interested in sport. Now let's take an example of 2004 when Roman Abramovich came in and disrupted the market. He was the first major player to come in as an investor or a fan or an owner to come in and destroy. I think Ali would really know because Arsenal at that point was a self-sustaining club who decided to invest on the stadium and decided to sell off their team, raise funds for the stadium. We were moving from hybrid to Emirates. So that was the kind of things Arsenal doing that then. But now Arsenal are they doing the same thing? No, they need their owner support. I think 2 years back, Arsenal fans, including Ali, might be saying, we're hoping the Spotify comes and take over Arsenal. So you need fans. If you ask Liverpool fans, if would you accept a sheikh to come over and take Liverpool, would say, okay, we'll take over it. Man United fans unhappy that a British share is buying over the control of the club rather than a Qatari sheikh. So all these clubs are now waiting for investments. All these clubs want money. All these clubs football, who buy the broadcasting is being sports, Sky Sports. They are all in the end backed by these millionaires and billionaires coming from the oil field or any other sector. always been about economics and money. Now you are seeing of Saudi Arabia or the Middle East is always, if you take a come from India, half of Middle East is built by India, Pakistanis and Bangladeshis. So it is they don't have, if they don't have any homegrown depth in a particular sector, they bring the best people from the world there. That's been the culture of Middle East ever since oil was found there. So for them, bringing in the best players to build a league is normal. That's part, if you say, that is the part of the thing. So now, again, if you're taking about clubs and sustainability, smaller clubs, players from the same country, we don't know what's the quality of Saudi Arabia actually. They qualify for every World Cup. That itself is a big plus. And all because Saudi Arabia itself had money in their own national league, just like the Russian league had. So these players are less tested in the grander stage. You just see them very less often, but they do stand up. See, Saudi Arabia beat Argentina might be a one-off thing, but they have actually performed well in the World Cup stages. It's not if they couldn't compete. So would they have these players in Saudi Arabia, Saudi players, would they make it into a lower Premier League club? I don't know, but they definitely will be able to play in a lower Bundesliga or a La Liga club. So standard, we cannot say is down the league is that bad because we never experienced that. We don't know the correct measure. We don't have a way to measure it because there is no cross country tournaments to measure that. Again, if you're looking at the difference between other recent historical events where a country tried to take over the sport, this is Saudi Arabia. What makes Saudi Arabia a vision a bit more noise and longer stretch? This is 10 years. Till 2034, there will be something because the World Cup is there in 2034. So 10 years span. No project before that we knew would be there for at least 10 years. China was there for 3 years and the government put taxes on it. Even before that, they only could have 4 players. But in here now we are seeing Saudi Arabia lifting regulations to accommodate the players. They have increased the foreign players quota, so they are ready for change. So here is an adaptive government trying to make a decision making. So sports whitewashing, like you said, they want the world to start watch the Middle East. The Qatar World Cup, the money was spent by a small country for the world come and see it. So if they can spend billions on that, how much will it take them to bring that 10, 100 best players into a league and create? So if you take other sports, it's always been like that. A country bringing the best players from across the globe. Take cricket for example, IPL. You have all the best players come play for 2-3 months here. That is the most watched cricketing event than the T20 World Cup. You take stats per match stat. IPL is a more match. Even the World Cup, you see, other than when India is playing, there's no one ready in the stadiums to watch it. But IPL matches gets the attraction. The same thing can happen in Saudi Arabia. So this is not like cultural fact and cultural backing is not the only thing that needs. If you have the best players showcased in a league, people from across the globe, like Michelle was telling, will come in and watch it because it's a spectacle. It's a sporting spectacle.
So regarding the financial part of it, like what Safal was saying, um, like that's the thing, like the financial cap that's there in Europe was really meant. The reason why it came in was because the teams were getting way to like the teams that were really performing, they continued to perform, right? The ones that weren't, they kept on facing relegation. So it did not make sense. That's the reason why they kept the cap. But now, like Safal mentioned, people are waiting for these Middle Eastern billionaires to come and like own the club so that they can actually invest in it, get better players, and even maintaining that cap, get better players, invest in those players, and actually perform really well. But if that sort of cap comes in for Middle Eastern, or if some, like, I don't think if that happens in these Saudi Arabian clubs, none of these players are going to go there if it's going to match with the same cap as it is in Europe. Because why would they would rather stay in Europe, be with the rest of the players, enjoy that lifestyle, than go to Saudi Arabia for the same price. The reason why they are there right now is because they are getting paid hell amount of money, right? So that particular shift is in that way also. That gap, I don't think it's ever going to come in Saudi Arabian clubs, but and in a way it is good as well. Like, I feel the shift that's happening right now is kind of giving chance to other players in Europe. Like, there are a lot of, once people start investing more, like, since a lot of Middle Eastern businessmen and otherwise, even fans are coming in and investing, other clubs are able to take in players even from the grassroots, train them well, and it is an opportunity for the others as well. Like, because all these players who have been legends in this industry, people only look into them. They've been masked, basically. The other players have been masked for the longest time. But now, like, as it is being more divided and diverse, the fan following is also being diverse. Like, people are also following multiple clubs. They are able to like, actually, like, kind of enjoy, just what do you say, in multiple games, like multiple clubs winning the tournaments and all of those things. Because I feel the fan following is now being divided into, like, being a fan of a player and fan of a club. So, like, for example, for me, I really love Messi. So I actually follow Inter Miami because he is part of that club. But I really love Liverpool. So I follow Liverpool because I love that club as well. So it is loyalty and the athletes fan following that's there. So in a way, I mean, it's a positive change that's happening in that sense as well.
Yeah, just one thing. So, on what Ajes was asking, so I think he was checking on, how is it going to affect the clubs, like let's say smaller clubs in Europe. So, just on that part. So, from what I can think of right now, from what is happening, is that at least we all expect it to, at least the same transfer sort of transfer windows to be happening for the at least next few years. So next few years at least we expect players to go to Middle East, and the Middle Eastern clubs spending this sort of money. Then right what is going to happen is that unless it's a Premier League, where let's say the 20th placed team in the Premier League gets more money from broadcasting than every other club in Europe except maybe a Barcelona or Real Madrid. So that's what. So that much amount of money is revenue is being generated by the Premier League. No other clubs in any other leagues would be able to get that amount of money. So unless it's a Premier League club, or if you're talking about other top leagues in Europe, those clubs won't be able to, match these salaries or match these transfer fees which are going to be paid out. And of course, they'll have the maybe I won't call it a talent drain as such, because of course you in Europe you find that you that getting good football players is never, you never have a dearth of that. You always find more and more players, but at least the problem would be that for a few years they won't be able to compete with other teams in signing those players. They will have to focus more on their grassroots. Each of these teams in other countries would have to focus on their grassroots development, would have to focus on their academies and get more players from their own countries. So that would be something which I'm looking forward to, how it is going to work out, because they won't be able to match these salaries and match these transfer fees which are going to come in. So that's something which I'm interested to see.
Like Ali said, that talent drain thing. One thing I could say, like what others was, I think, saying that how would these smaller clubs would be able to survive. Can I ask one question to each and every one of you? That one simple thing. is it a benefit thing for the smaller clubs rather than um, selling to a European club for 20 million? Now you'll get 30 million for a player from Saudi Arabia. They're ready to splash the money anyway. You're getting more money for your talent. Anyway, you'll be drained by the bigger European brothers. But you're now being drained by a bigger club. So financially, I think it's a better thing. You take over Gabri Vea's incident in Celta Vigo was going to sell him to 32 million or something in Napoli. Now he went to Al Ahly for around 40 million. They got almost 10 million extra because Saudi Arabian club was ready to buy him off. So for a smaller club, for their revenues now being increased 10 to 20% transfer sale because competition is there in the market. I believe this is beneficial for the smaller club because they will anyway be drained. They cannot this is a positive impact, and I think let's wind up. It's almost 1 year, 1 hour now. Let's see what we see after 5 years. Will this be there? No?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's it.
like
I think
we had we have reiterated multiple times that right
Michelle,
now
continue.
it's too early to. I mean, we have reiterated it multiple times that right now it's too early to say how the shift is, whether it's going to be sustained and all of those things. So, I mean, let's see in another 10 years. I mean, I hope that this shift, like, it's just like it spreads. I mean, being football fans, we would love the entire world to celebrate football, be it Middle East, US, wherever it is, right? And one point that I really want to say is that with that particular, like how they are ready to even change the rules, their culture, Islamic culture. Like when Cristiano came in, right? They were ready to accept his girlfriend, which is in like very different. Like I was really shocked because Islamic culture is so strong for them accepting that she can stay in the same house as him with their kids. It is like that's definitely a positive change, hopefully an open change that we can see and hope that it continues happening in such countries as well. Saying that, I'm very sorry, I have to leave a little early. It's an emergency. So it was really great having this discussion with you, Safal, Ali, and Ajes. I had a really great time. I'm sad that I won't be able to take part continuing in this conversation, but looking forward to seeing the recording, what happens post I leave. All right, bye bye. Take care. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Michelle. So I think everyone has added their points, and so let's. It's time to wind up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll take a winding up uh, from Ali and close this. Yeah, come on, Ali, you can wind it up. Because Arsenal doesn't get to
Yeah,
finish good. No, at least you can finish well.
No, no, I'm still expecting Manchester City to be, dog 10 points from last year's season and us getting the Premier League. So I'm looking forward to that.
yeah.
It's not going to
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
But at least.
Yeah, City may draw, but the issue is will Arsenal make over?
We'll see. That's something which we will see.
They
But
now have a new left back in Kai Havertz.
this is scored a goal and gave away a penalty also. So it was not
Yeah,
a good
yeah.
day. Yeah. It was nice discussing with all of you. I was just going to tell just one thing. So it's, I think most of our discussions was on how it's going to sustain or how it's going to be negative or a flow of things. But I also think there are a lot of good things which is going to happen because of these, new leagues coming up as well. Even I was looking forward to, there was this report that Al Ahly was going to come to Mumbai to play Mumbai City. Even I was looking forward to seeing Neymar. So then he got injured and all of those things. So a lot of other countries, lot of other even Middle Eastern, African, North African countries are going to get to see a lot of nice quality football. So that's something which I hope will, yeah, he's going to take the world game global. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for your time. And let's see the recordings as soon as possible.
Bye guys. Bye.
Bye guys.
Bye.
You will never walk alone.